Hey there, and welcome to That's Audacious, where we share entrepreneurial stories from amazing leaders to inspire and motivate you to be bold, brave, and audacious. I'm your host, Lauren Clemett, the brand navigator, here to share stories that will make you say, well, that's audacious. Hello and welcome to another edition of the That's Audacious podcast. Today we have the fabulous Rowena Preddy with us. Now, Rowena is the founder of her own bold and brave branding studio. She does amazing things to help small owners ditch the cookie cutter approach, that awful vanilla flavor that everybody seems to have if they use Canva to create their branding. I'm not going to say that, but that's what I just said. And show up as real, raw, and totally aligned with your brand. Rowena, it's so exciting to have you on the podcast. Tell us a little bit more about where you've come from and what the purpose is behind what you're doing with Preddy Creative.
I've worked in graphic design since my very first job out of university. I always, like from the second I was allowed to take my fifth form art class over all the smart classes I was supposed to be taking, I fell in love with art. I loved the fact that everyone said it was a dumb subject, and I loved the magic that could happen, the thinking that happened behind the scenes, and how it could come and create something completely unexpected and completely unique. So I went on to take graphic design at university with sides of advertising and photography. And I was the first person hired out of my class, and it was freaking awful. I will honestly say that if you've watched Mad Men, I can say that working in a design agency in the early 2000s was just a slightly updated version of that. I got very disenchanted with the industry in that I didn't fit what they wanted a woman in those places to be. You know, I was supposed to be schmoozing up to all the very male, very boomer people that ran the business. I didn't wear short skirts. I didn't flirt. I had an opinion that was often way too loud. And I feel like it held me back. And I feel like I ended up with a lot of second guessing myself, a lot of self-doubt. I just thought maybe I've got into the wrong industry. I know that I love this space, but if this is what it is, ew. Like literally just ew. And it smashed me down from being this colorful rainbow of unicorn expression and all of those sorts of things. And I started to dull myself down into a beige, very square, very conformative box. And it killed my creativity in so many different ways. And not sure. I could probably still be there today if it wasn't for the fact that my position was made redundant. And I live in a small town, small regional area. I live in Cairns. And so to have, to literally find I have no job and to look for a design job, they're already hen's teeth in the world, let alone Australia, let alone a small town. And I just went, if I've got to do this to myself. I have 2 kids to support. I have an amazing husband, and I need to do this. This is the time to do it. If I don't do it now, it's never going to happen. I promptly went out to prove myself to all of those men that had scotched me through the industry, and I wanted to prove myself universally and promptly put myself into burnout. And burnout is a bitch. It's a bitch that redefines a whole bunch of things in your world, and you realize this is not it. And so I really rebuilt my business from that point of making it a place I wanted to be and working with the people I wanted to work with and giving back to women, because the majority of women that I work with, I find have had the same experience. They've come from corporate, they've been disenchanted, all those sorts of things, and they've kind of being indoctrinated into this box that we're supposed to fit into, especially as women, not just in business, but in every walk of life. And these amazing women that have these fabulous ideas and this glowing uniqueness were scared to show it. And I wanted to show those women the things that I saw in them. That empowered me. That made me realize that all those things that I dampened down through my career were actually the things that made me the most amazing, that they'd chosen me for those things, and I wanted to give that power back. And so a huge part of what I do in my business, I feel like, is reciprocal. I get so much out of helping people find that spark, because so many people come to me and they've had terrible graphic design experiences. Like, oh, money, it's going to take forever. I'm probably not going to get what I want. And it was like, no. Branding's supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be the exciting part of your business. So I wanted to give that back to people. I wanted to show them how amazingly, like, great creative, how it can actually be a driver in your business, how it can actually be the thing that sparks that magic for whatever and wherever they want to go.
I love it. Look, there seems to be so many amazing silver linings to every cloud that you've had in your life. You also come across as someone who, the minute someone says, Rowena, you can't do that, you're the first one to say, hang on, hold my beer and watch me. Because it sounds like, you said your mum and dad didn't want you to study art, and yet you said, hey, I'll do the science stuff as long as you let me do it.
It wasn't my mum and my dad. My mum is amazing. She is the reason I got into this industry. She went back as an adult student to get her exact same degree that I've got. She graduated the year before I started my degree. But everyone else, like the teachers and my dad and everyone, was like, it's safe, it's this, it's that, you must, this is your life. And I was like, oh my God, my life is going to be boring.
So Rowena stands there going, hands on hips, power pose. You know what? Yeah, I'll do that if you want me to, but actually I really want to do this. Just watch me do it. So being creative has been almost a part of your DNA, hasn't it? But I think the nicest thing is, it's not just you being creative, it's your ability to see the creativity in other people. Because one of the big things I find, especially when people are working with a graphic designer, a creative, a branding specialist, is they feel really out of their depth. They know what they know. Like you say, they've come from corporate, or they've created a business out of a passion they've got. They know their product or their service incredibly well. They just don't think they know how to be creative. What's your experience when you're working with someone who goes, oh, I don't know if I can do this, and you just find they when you teach them a little bit about what it means to be creative, they start to grow and to blossom and to turn into something else?
It's a very valid point. I get so many people coming to me saying, oh, well, these people are successful and they look like this, therefore I should look like this. And a big part of the process I take people through, which is a little more like, a lot of people be like, right, I am a lawyer and I need a logo, and the person runs off and does that. I go through like a really extensive mood boarding phase with my clients, and I don't know where it's going to end up ever. Like, I am still amazed by the magic that comes out of that, and it's because I involve the client really heavily in that process, and it just finding that amazing cross section between, as a professional, what I know would really work and what of those things that I present they really like. There becomes this amazing cross section where it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you can see people's eyes open up in that moment and go, that's so me. And that sort of like that relief and that freedom that comes from it, like, oh my gosh, finally I'm going to have permission to show up and stand up as 100% myself. That's where uniqueness, we always say there's only one of you. Well, there's only one of you in business too.
It is hard though, isn't it? I mean, the power of original thought. I mean, there's, especially with AI right now, there's so much repurposed and that comparisonitis that you talk about, oh, that worked for them, so surely I'll just jump on the bandwagon. What do you see the trends are right now for people who want to create a really powerful personal brand? What should they be looking for?
It needs to come from you. Ultimately, if you're trying to be something else or show up as something that is not aligned with you, all I do is give that visual form. So a lot of people do find that process confronting because, like I said, it's holding up a mirror, and it's you know, when we get told that we're too bright or too bold or too loud or too all of these things, the word to is constantly applied to women. We can look at it across everything in this world, to. And I try to challenge them to flip that on its head and go, well, what if that's the thing that, imagine being able to meet a client and be that person. Imagine being able to shed all those shoulds and have tos and show up as yourself. I do it in my business. I didn't do it for those 2 years that I put myself into burnout. But over time, I stepped more and more and more into myself. And it's the thing that constantly clients say to me, I loved working with you. It's not that I love my brand. It's always me first. Because I am a solopreneur.
And the thing is as well, people actually want to do business with people, don't they? You've got your overarching brand, and this is a question I get asked all the time. What is the difference between your personal brand and your company brand? If you're not a solopreneur, if you've got a team of like 15, 20 staff and you're growing an amazing business, what is your approach towards helping people really get clear on aligning their personal beliefs and values with the brand of the company?
That one, a lot of people find tricky. And to tell you the truth, I still find lines to push and pull and sort of see how it feels. And it's just having that ability to check in against it as well. Anything in business, having them be aligned to brand values. And I know that bigger businesses and smaller businesses, we use these brand values, we put them in a document and we usually shove them in a drawer. But I'm one of those people, and it's usually like a thick document.
Yeah, something to gather dust, definitely. Yeah.
Precisely. I challenge people to distill that down to some core words, but don't just use them and be like, cool, we are confident. It's like, no, but how are you giving that representation? How are you showing up as confident? For example, confident can be different things to other people. They can be quietly confident and those sorts of things. So, for example, I show up as boldly confident, right? But that's something different to everyone, and I use it as a filter. It's often when you get that ick in your stomach, it's often because it's not aligned with one of those brand values. Like, I am very honest in my business, and I will tell people when a client's not aligned or you're not ready for me and those sorts of things. But it's that level of transparency that builds trust. So I'm not saying I'm trustworthy. I am blatantly honest.
It is having a little integrity litmus test, isn't it? And you're right. If you do something and you don't feel right about it, but you keep pushing through, it's like, no, you need to stop and listen to that intuitiveness with your brand. Yeah. You are listening to the That's Audacious podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more amazing stories from incredible people, tune into Podbean or Spotify or Apple Podcast. You'll find all of our episodes there. Now, Rowena, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is that sassiness that comes with your brand. How far do people push it? I mean, we've seen some brands out there that really challenge the norm, and they often get haters, they get smashed, in a PR point of view, and they do go, oh, I need to play it safe. A lot of people want to do that. How far can you push it with a sassy brand, do you think, these days?
I think it's as far as you're comfortable with. And I think it's something that can build over time. And like I said, it's having that level of awareness and checking in against it, so that there's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people that you're not for. But I will say that the louder and the bolder and the truer you are to yourself, the more emphatic the yes is going to be when people find you, And that sassy is different for everyone. That bold is different for everyone. That confident is different for everyone. And it's your version of sassy that's going to attract the right people. And maybe it's like, I do encourage people, be sassy, but know where your lines are. If you're, put it this way, be your professional sassy versus your two mojitos deep sassy. There's different levels of sassy, and it's just about having an awareness of where those lines are in your business. For instance, I don't show my kids much on business. Once in a while, with their permission, I will if it's a special event, but often it ties into my business and the reason why I'm in my business and things. I'm not showing them at doing their homework at the table. I'm not showing them with their friends or anything like that. It's always in relation to my business. So I would say check in on the relevance meter. if you're just being sassy and crass for the sake of it, or if you're doing it because it's true to who you are, if you're doing it because it's what's attracting the right people, and it's just, again, every few months checking in and going, hey, that sassy post worked really well. Cool. How can I amplify that? How could I lean into that more, and those sorts of things, and recognizing it as it's not a forever thing. You can change it. You can adjust it. You can tweak it. It's ever growing, just like business.
Yeah, I love it. Just measuring the right amount of sass. And the measure, the KPI behind that, as you say, is how engaged was it with exactly the right people I want to align with. That's so cool. Now, Rowena, tell us a little bit about the Quickie Design Day. Now, that sounds a bit rude, but I love this. The Quickie Design Day, what is that all about?
So my quickies came about because everyone in business gets told to gradually build. Once you sort of tap out of an area, increase your prices, work with bigger people, and honestly, it was just not me. It slowed everything down. And I've worked in advertising where I'm cranking 20 ads out a day and things like that. So when things are taking 6 months, I'm having a snooze fest and I'm completely disconnected. I ended up with a lot of design by committee, where it was the trust in my services was diluted by process and a variety of personal opinions that weren't necessarily aware of the bigger picture. And so I went, well, how can I create something that means that I get to work with these amazing women in business that are kicking ass, and I align with their visions and I love them so much, but often money is an issue, or, and I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the trifecta, and I'm going to make sure I say this right. You can have it fast, good, or
cheap,
but you can only pick two.
Yeah.
I designed Quickie to be all three because I realized that the people I wanted to work with needed all three. So I really developed a system that meant that I could do things fast, like I like, but also let my client need it. And I kept quality because I was never going to put crap out into the world. And it meant that they had designs that were still going to last them 10 years in the future. And I made it a 4 doable. I'm never going to say that I'm cheap, but I will also always say that I have an awareness and a knowledge, being a solopreneur myself, of where that importance lies. But Quickie, very tongue-in-cheek. My whole brand's tongue-in-cheek, in case you haven't picked that up already.
It's just the right amount of sass, I think, to your brand.
Well, for example, I've just put out a quiz called Is Your Brand a One-Night Stand? And it's about the relationship that you have with your brand. So it's all going to be very tongue-in-cheek, but at its core, it was an answer for me, and it was an answer for the people I wanted to work with. And the bonus is it means that I can work with brands that align with everything that I believe in a way that's aligned with who I am, and I get results fast, and I get to move on to the next colourful rainbow.
Yeah, I love it. Obviously, there's a bit of ADHD going on in there as well, because it's like, next, I want to get into the next thing as well. What I love about this is you're giving us some really interesting insight into how to build a standout brand, but have that integrity to be able to deliver on the brand promises. What would be your top tips if somebody was briefing a design agency like yourselves? They wanted to refresh their brand or build their personal brand. They needed a new look and feel for whatever it is they're doing, their events or their website, whatever it is. What's your top tips to help them really build credibility through their brand and to create more impact for what they're trying to do?
Ooh, big questions. I would say top of the list always is consistency. It sounds like it's boring, but it's actually built to make things easier. All those people that are spending hour upon hour in Canva umming and ahhing over color and font and all those things, it's designed to make it easier. It should be an instant, quick reaction to go, is that on brand or is that not on brand? Because that's how fast you've got to engage with your clients. And when it comes to impact, I often find people coming to me and they go, oh, well, now I have to have a business card, and I have to have this, and I have to have that. And I'm like, but why? It's like my key question, but why? And I was just talking to a client today, and it was like, well, if you're looking at becoming a speaker, let's do a hot banner. And she's like, oh, but I also need one for my workshop. And I'm like, let's look at how we can combine that and how that can have an impact. And so you could be having, and it's about what's that next investment that's actually going to make a difference. What's actually going to have an impact? And she said, oh, I need to redo my brochure. And she's like, I might just get the same one printed again. And I'm like, why would you put money into something that hasn't worked for you in the past? Let's see how we can make a difference. She's like, again, oh, I'll need one for this place and one for this place. How can we combine it? How can we optimize it? How can we make it so that the one thing that you create and put money into really makes a difference? It really gets you that client. Like, what's the purpose of this? She's like, oh, well, I need to have more people coming in the door. Cool. Let's make that the driver for this. We want it to be so eye-catching that people are going to pick it up and get into your door. You know?
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's yes, things can look nice, they can be beautifully done, but if they don't actually get a return, they're not actually creating the impact you want them to create, they're not getting noticed, they're not driving traffic, whatever it is your goal is, then it's just a nice design. And I love what you're saying as well about Canva. I mean, Canva has taken over, and I use Canva in the office for doing standard stuff. That's fine. I used to be a graphic designer, so our brand is all set. But I love what you said about if you don't have the brand first, if you haven't done that foundational work, it's just distraction. It's just noise. There's so many different designs, hundreds of thousands of different designs within Canva that you'll waste your time on. And then every time you post something, you'll look different because you've used a different template, and somebody else down the road, the coffee shop down the road, has used exactly the same template with the same words. Do you know what I mean? It's frightening at the moment how those three things, quick and easy, doesn't necessarily mean quality and long-term results.
Yeah.
So, Rowena, take us back. The question I always ask in these podcast interviews, if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice, doesn't matter where it was or when it was or what it was about, what would that be?
Figure out who you are. Like, take the time to figure out who you are, and then just go all in on it, back yourself, like 1,000%. Be your bold, be your loud, be your whatever it is that you are. But the second I started embracing that, and it's one of the things that I said when I hit my 5-year in business, is I did 5 years of lessons learned. And the top one for me is personal growth equals business growth. And every time I've shed a limiting self-belief, or every time I have put up a firm boundary because I've recognized, or those sorts of things, or I have embraced my naturally white hair and enjoyed the sparkles and things like that. Like, every time I did that, it was so freeing. And the bit more myself I am, the more my business thrives. The more I have to give, the bigger ideas, the brighter, the more colorful, the more everything. So just figure out who you are and constantly just go all in on you.
I love that. From a personal branding point of view, that's the number one step, isn't it? Is invest in yourself.
Yeah.
I love that. Rowena, it's been awesome to interview you on the That's Audacious podcast today. If you've been listening and you love what Rowena is talking about, check her out. Preddy Creative. All the links will be here on the podcast. She's based in Cairns, but she works with people all over the world. If you love her sass and the way that she develops this whole approach to innovative litmus testing with brands that actually have an impact, please get in touch. Rowena, any last tips or insight or motivation for people who are listening?
Be the rainbow. Definitely just go out there and be the rainbow.
I love it. Think outside the square, eh? Don't listen to those people who tell you can't, because you blooming well can.
Yeah, you can.
That's so awesome. Thank you, Rowena, for being on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. See you.
Thanks so much for listening to the That's Audacious podcast. Remember, there's no place for modesty in business, and you do deserve to be well known, well paid, and wanted. For more episodes, please subscribe to the podcast on your favourite channel or follow us online. The links are in the description below.